And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wheel Talk, the podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a girl in a wheelchair. And for those observant of you, you'll notice we're both in slightly different settings today.
We didn't even plan it.
Yeah. Brittney's out in the sunshine in her garden. I'm assuming that's your garden.
Yeah, it's my backyard, yeah.
Nice. And I am in my standing frame. So kind of same background, but different. This is an extremely dodgy setup I've got in front of me. You guys can't see it. But if I can manage to stand in my standing frame for an hour, then we'll make it. Otherwise, there might be a weird transition back to the desk. But anyway, the title of today's Dragged, Drenched and Derailed. Oh, do we have a juicy conversation for you today? What a week. It's been one of those weeks that has pushed... Well, personally, it's pushed me outside my comfort zone and towards a path which is probably congruent with personal growth and all sorts of good, yummy goodness, but scary nonetheless. Very, very scary. And Britt, what have you got to bring to the table today?
I went to a music festival that was, not very wheelchair accessible. They tried, but so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I definitely want to hear about your whole juicy stuff. So let's start with that. Okay,
let's begin. So my week, all right, so I started filming a video about how to take the dog for a walk. I said that I was struggling for ideas for content, and I was like, oh, I can take the dog for a walk without putting the wheelchair bike in and out the car, which is amazing. I'm going to film that, right? So I filmed it, and then it wasn't actually, I think the one thing I regret was I wasn't filming when this happened, but I had an accident and I toppled the bike over, and it was because of Bonnie. I was so annoyed. So when we go out together, Bonnie's very, very well behaved. She's a very well behaved dog. But when Chris was there, it's like going out with the substitute teacher, but the headmaster's there, and you're like, well, I know that, I'm going to listen to you, but she's the real boss. So she was being an absolute dick and not listening to me one bit. And I was very, very frustrated. But when you get very frustrated with the dog picks up on that energy, and it's like this weird feedback loop. Anyway, I was going up this hill, which you'll probably see on the video when I get a chance to make it. But now the video, if I do make it, it's got a whole new bloody... Because I'm like, oh, look at me walking the dog, aren't I clever? And then we're going up the hill, and she lunges at two other dogs. And because I'm holding the lead, she pulled the whole wheelchair bike over, and I was just on the floor. And it was awful. I wasn't hurt, so number one, grateful I'm not hurt. But I was 11 out of 10 pissed off. I was raging. I was so pissed off with Bonnie, and I was shouting. So to give this some context, because I've been looking forward to chatting with you about this all week, because something happened which only I think you would understand and the audience would understand. But I'm on the floor and I'm shouting, I'm screaming at the top of my voice because I'm so angry at the dog. But a car stops and they get out, and they don't know if I'm shouting because I'm in pain or whatever. So they rush over to me, right? But then they start manhandling me, and I'm like, get off me, right? What are you doing? I know that through their eyes, they see a man in a wheelchair on a floor, screaming, probably looks like he needs help, right? And I'm there going, get off me, I'm a grown man, I've got agency and autonomy, just, stop grabbing at me. What do you, does it look like I'm helpless to you? And obviously it does look like the picture of helpless, right, is what I'm painting. So, that was really tough, because these two ladies who were honestly just doing their best to try and help were annoying me so much. And then a guy stopped his car and got out and started grabbing my legs. And I was like, what are you doing, bruv? What are you doing? I don't need you to grab my legs. I haven't asked for any help at this point. All I need is my seat cushion. I just want to put my bum under my seat cushion and just breathe, just take in what's happened. I don't need you guys fussing around me. But obviously they are fussing around me, and I'm not doing a very good job of communicating it, because again, like I said, I'm 11 out of 10 pissed off. So I'm being rude to people that are trying to help, and the people that are trying to help aren't really helping, because they're trying to get the wheelchair bike off the car, but it's a certain way of doing things, and she was not helping. Chris was there, and she was... The lady who was trying to help was lifting the wheelchair when it needed to be pushed down, and in the end I was just like, stop! Yeah. Just stop! I was like, you're not helping. I just felt like such a knob. But it was just this horrible Anyway, that's number one. What do you think?
I definitely can empathize with like being really overwhelmed and overstimulated in the moment, and not knowing like how to, because you're like annoyed at people but also grateful at the same time, and you're like, I don't know how to be like, thank you so much for, having the, I don't know, the values that allowed you to stop and help somebody that's in need, but also don't help me if I'm not like, don't do what, ask me how I need help. Do you know what I mean? It's like if somebody's like sees you struggling like on a hill or something, and they say like, can I help you, or how can I help you? What's the best way to help you? Do you need help? Those things are all really great, but if they just start like picking you up, then it's like kind of weird. And I've had that situation before where like a man has just like entirely picked me up because I'm fairly light, and I was just like, oh, I'm in this guy's arms now. Like this is so weird.
Yeah.
And he did put me in my chair, which is fine, but like it was like very weird. And as a woman, I always laugh because like when you pick up a woman like in the cradle position, you inevitably touch their boob. Like you can't not. Your arm is under
Yeah.
your hand is under their armpit. So it's like an intimate thing. And if somebody doesn't ask you first, like then it's like weird. So I totally empathize. And I don't even know what I would have done in that situation because I probably would have been like scared that, I don't know. I'm like so worried about like offending people that I would have just been like, yeah, touch me however you want. It's great. Like, and then I would have
Yeah.
been like, oh my God, that was so weird afterwards. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the situation would have been because for one, you're a guy and you're with a woman. But if I'm with Joe and I followed my wheelchair, nobody's stopping to help because I'm already with a
Ah,
man.
right.
Do you know what I mean? So the situation was already, I don't know, just there's a whole lot of like societal stigmas built into that situation that we could probably unpack.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems was when they were lifting me up, I'm like, where are you lifting me to? My wheelchair is on its side. Like where
Oh,
like you're trying to stand me up. Like
yeah.
I can't stand up. Like what are you
Yeah.
doing? Like try like I get it, it's like the natural instinct to like try and help someone up who's fallen. But I'm like, my legs don't work. What are you doing? You fuck off. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, excuse my French, but like oh my, that was the other problem, right? They were French. So I was like not in the mindset to like translate this. So there's a language barrier. So that gives it another bit of context. I'm shouting at them in English, and I know that that's really rude, but like I'm just not in the mindset to like be polite. I'm in the mindset to just I want honestly, I'm like I want to punch the dog so badly. Don't get me wrong, I didn't punch the dog, but I'm like you've just pulled me over. You've been a dickhead on the walk and you've pulled my wheelchair over. Also, the controller has smashed, so now my bike doesn't work. Like you remember I said the other week that my bike doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, now my bike definitely doesn't work because the controller smashed. And all of this is, I'm just taking all this in while there's people manhandling me. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
a grown ass man. Stop touching me.
Yeah. Totally. I cannot, when I get overstimulated, even just like with my own children, I don't know how to contain. And I like full on, my kids will say I'm a total spaz, and I'm like mean sometimes, which is like, that's horrible. I apologize to my kids so many times. But like if I get overstimulated, I don't know how to contain that emotion while also communicating my needs. Like I don't know how to do that properly, and Joe will tell you this all the time. This is like part of the thing that we struggle with a lot, is that I need something, but I'm so angry and overstimulated that I am not thinking properly and can't communicate it without also being angry. And I get mad at able-bodied people in these situations when something like happens to me in my wheelchair, then it's just everybody that's able-bodied is an asshole. And I'm just like, I fucking hate that you have legs. Like you guys are so ungrateful for everything that you have. Like I hate you. And I seriously say that stuff, like mostly just to my own family. And they're like, okay, whatever. We're the able-bodied assholes right now. But that's what it feels like sometimes. And I can't even imagine if that happened to me. The dog did that. Dogs and babies, you can't yell at them, but you want so badly to like,
Or punch them.
punch. Yeah, you're like, I want to punch the dog or the baby. But you can't. That's so bad. Don't quote me on that. Nobody take that clip and like put it on the internet and then cancel me. But yeah, you can't. So then you just lash out at the other people that are around. which is like human nature. Which is why I always try and like if somebody is being angry out in public, I generally try and assume that has nothing to do with me whatsoever because I'm like something is making them overstimulated, angry, and overwhelmed, and I'm just the person in the path. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Jim says, Brittney, mad, hard to imagine. I would ask Joe. He'd be like, oh, that's pretty easy to imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like so good I'm in little situations, insignificant, stupid situations. I lose my temper in very easily. In really dire situations or like really bad situations, I am calm as a cucumber. Like if something is actually happening that like, should overstimulate me or make me really mad, then I'm like my body goes into full on survival mode and like just deer in the headlights, calm as a cucumber, no emotions whatsoever. But like if somebody doesn't pick up their socks or like I've rolled over something in the house, I'm like, you mother, like I'm just like so annoyed. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I lose my temper in the most ridiculous times. But I don't know what I would have done in that situation, honestly. I because I like the bike was stuck on the wheelchair, which is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yet you're trying to get the bike off. People don't understand how to hook it up on and off. You are already mad because the bike's broken. You don't want it to get wrecked further. You don't want them to wreck your wheelchair, and you're trying to
Yeah.
like communicate all of this while people are like trying to pick you up. And like you say, to where? Like where are you picking me to? So
I know, and I was so annoyed. Anyway, we cycled back, and I tried to fix the bike because like I said, the controller broke off, and the button that turns it on wouldn't work. So it was like only working like intermittently. And as I fiddled with it more and more, it started working less and less. And then the other button broke, and I was like, I was seething because like I was trying to fix it, but I was obviously making the problem worse. And
yeah.
this was annoying me so much more. And I wanted to punch the dog so badly, but in the end, I did forgive the dog. I just like, look, come here. She doesn't understand, but I was like, look, I will forgive you, but I'm not going to forget. You know.
Yeah. And that's
yeah,
the hard part because
yeah.
ultimately, like, well, maybe she was just being playful, lunging at the dogs, but maybe she had like a protective instinct to be like, stay away from my dad or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I'll just quickly. Oh yeah, so I did manage to calm down, and then I was like thinking about like the things that I'm grateful for. I mean, I bang on about this all the time, but it's a really good way to like reset your energy. And I was like, okay, what am I grateful for? And I was like, oh well, the number one, I'm not hurt, right? Because if I was injured, if I'd pulled a tendon or like anything, even just a scratch on my arm would have sucked, right? But I am completely unscathed, apart from being annoyed. So I'm like, that's something to be grateful for. The other thing, like Bonnie wasn't hurt. Bonnie didn't run into the road. Like people did stop and help. We live in a lovely community. I managed to make it home with the bike, but like while it was still like switched on. There were loads and loads of things to be grateful for, and that like really reset my mood. But it was a stressful time. It was so weird. Like I've had a couple of these moments this week where I've like spiked up, like, oh my god, this is terrible, and then be like, oh, actually, it's not that bad.
I have a really hard time doing that in the moment, and that's one thing that I'm like working on right now is when I feel like that, like I want to hurt people, like I just want to lash out and be like, I want to like break something of Joe's, or I want to like say something really hurtful. Like I seriously, like I get like, I'm just like, oh, I have to like, I don't, it's like a really hard for me to like tone it down. And music really helps. Like if I listen to like a song, then I'm like, oh yes, I love my family, I love my husband, I love my life. Then I like can tone it down. And you have to like, there has to be like that pause between like what you feel like you want to say and not saying it, so that you can have that like time to like pause. But yeah, it's a struggle for me for sure. Like it's one of the things that I'm probably working on the most right now, not saying something to my kids that I'm going to regret when Jacob tells me something, like cuz he's a teenager now and he has lots of freedom, and like telling me stuff that he's open and honest about, and then I'm like, "Oh, I want to say you're an idiot so badly." I want to tell him that he's so dumb, or that like, his friends are dumb or whatever, but then I'm just like, "Oh, that's okay, great." Like it's such a hard thing for me. Yeah, the pause. I don't know how to perfect that, but yeah, you obviously did a good job. I mean, did the people visibly know that you were like angry at them, or did they just think you were like overwhelmed, or were you like, thank you so much for stopping, here's how to help me?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I think they were it was very obvious that I was very annoyed, but was it with them? I think it wasn't it was mainly like 80% at the dog and maybe like 20% at them. I was just like, look, like, stop fussing. I don't need your help. Like, also they're speaking French, so I'm like trying to communicate in French, and I'm like, I know that this is what I wanted to say. I know that the situation looks dire and I'm utterly helpless, but I'm not. My girlfriend is here. This young lady is here who with the other two dogs. The situation is under control. Please just leave me alone. But that wasn't how it came across. I was just like, stop! For God's sake, you're not helping, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I came across as a massive dick, you know? Like, there's definitely a very good possibility that they were like, that guy's a bit of a knob. And I'm like, well, yes and no. I mean, yes, but no.
I don't know. I think everybody's entitled to be a little bit. I don't know. I think the expectation that nobody's ever going to be emotionally dysregulated or, inappropriate in certain situations is unrealistic. Like, I don't ever expect that of people, which is why I never lose my shit when somebody does something crazy or says something offensive to me. And this happens like family, just in-laws, whatever. If somebody says something that I'm like, okay, that kind of hurt my feelings, I never get crazy because I know I'm bound to do it to them inevitably. I'm going to be stupid to them, and I would never want somebody to hold that over my head forever. So I try to give strangers, especially, grace, because I'm like, I don't know what happened today, or something maybe horrible. And so yeah, I don't think you should have that expectation of yourself either. And most of the time, people are pretty forgiving, I think, of situations, especially that warrant being a little bit overwhelmed, annoyed, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay has a great comment here. If I could have a second chance at every conversation, I would be the best communicator in the world.
Oh my God, that's such a good comment.
I've thought about that so many times. With the perfect power of hindsight. You could just go back and say, "Well, that would have been a burning," or like a great comeback, or I could have handled that with more grace.
Yeah.
Especially with the French, you could translate it in your head and then go back and it would be amazing if I could have a second chance at every conversation. But we don't, Actually, that leads me on to a nice little segue to the next bit of news, which I wanted to share. And so I wrote an email yesterday, and it was like quite I guess it was not a pointed email. It was like polite, but it was. Today I had second thoughts about sending it because I'd slept on the situation. But I wonder if I can get the email up that I got. So it's a bit of a personal thing that happened, and I won't name the company by name, even though I've said them on the internet before. But the job I had lined up for winter, I got a email yesterday saying that they've made the difficult decision to not offer me a position again with the admin team, and they gave me the reason that, like, even though I was told that I was improving in areas, at the end of the season, several members of the team expressed concern that basic mistakes were still occurring too frequently, and that you had not achieved the level of general proficiency that we would expect from an individual that has worked here with us for 3 years. Oh. And I was livid. It said, I would like to take the opportunity to mention that we did also receive a number of positive comments regarding your general enthusiasm and positive attitude. And this decision is by no means a reflection of anyone's feelings towards you on a personal level. And I was so annoyed. Again, I'm going to have a little vent here because no one from that company is listening, and I haven't named them out loud. But oh my God, that is such BS, man. That is such corporate jargon just masked as some sort of, like, if they're trimming the fat and like they want to replace me with AI, fair enough, right? But there is no fucking way, excuse me, sorry, I'm a little emotional. There is no way that I am the weakest link in the chain on that team. Not in a million years. I was so good at my job. I genuinely thought I was really good. I was one of the guys that could speak French on the phone. I never turned up hungover. I know there are so many other people that made loads of mistakes, like pricing mistakes that cost the business money, like cost the business clients, mistakes that I was trying to rectify. You know, I could think of 3 other members of staff that were like, that should be on the chopping block before me. Do you know what I mean? But I wrote this email yesterday and I was like, really like just trying to point out that, you know, I'm really gutted. This job means a lot to me. With the accessibility, the office, like the limited options in town, like for work. This was a job that I really liked. I absolutely loved working for this company. And I was loyal and I was enthusiastic and I had a better attitude than some other members of staff. And again, I didn't complain about these members of staff. I remained professional when I was there. But like, I'm baffled that they feel like that I was, you know, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like they've taken away the job and said that I wasn't good enough when I know that's objectively not true. I think I know that's objectively not true.
It's so hard in these situations to know what the real situation is because they're never going to say if it had something to do with your disability. Otherwise, that would be a human rights issue or like a labor board issue kind of thing. So
it's definitely not to do with my disability.
Oh, okay. I was just like, I hopefully not. Yeah, because that would always be like an insecurity of mine if that was, you know, me being let go. That really sucks. That's such a really hard thing to hear. Because it's a hit to your ego in that they're saying you weren't good enough at your job especially when you felt very proficient at your job. Like that's really sucky.
Yeah, and like I can give other examples of how like I feel like the company has gone downhill since I started working there. Like I know this is going to sound odd, but when I first started working there, they said customer service is number 1. It's top of the pops for us. We pride ourselves on customer service. And I was like, oh, amazing. You're the front line of customer service. So you've got to be on the top of your game. And I was like, oh, amazing. You know, I took that seriously. I really wanted to like have a great, you know, be good at my job and live up to the standards that they set for me. But then it just kept getting worse. Like I said this to before, but there's like a little bit of a toxic complaining culture where people, like I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I'll read an email and I'll be like, oh, that seems like a reasonable request. And I'll hear someone else read the email in the office and they'll put some stank on it and they'll be like, can you believe this guy? You know, and I'm like, well, he's requesting a service that we provide. Like maybe he's using his second language. Who knows? But like, it's really odd how people could interpret some communication and just generally act towards like the customers. I'll give you a really good example. There was a lady that had left her helmet in the van and they said, oh, you're gonna have to get the UPS to pick it up from the office. There was like a little document missing, so the UPS couldn't pick it up. And she just said, oh, is there any way one of your staff members could drop it down to the hardware store, which is a pickup point, you know? And everyone was like, oh, the cheek of this woman, you know, like we're not a concierge service, you know, and they actually emailed her back saying that, like, you're going to have to get the UPS guy to pick it up. And I just took the helmet and just went to the hardware store and dropped it off. And I just emailed her, yeah, I've done it. Because it's not a big deal for me to like go above and beyond. It's like very minimal. I'm like driving there and this lady gets her brand new helmet back in the post, you know. And that's just one example of how like I feel like I'm a good employee. So, which even stings even worse because I'm like, you know, anyway.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck, I think.
That sucks a lot. Yeah, I don't know what I would do in that situation because I'm kind of a wimp that way. If anybody says anything about my performance or whatever, I take it very personally. Obviously, that's a hard thing not to do when somebody points out specifically something about your performance. And I tend to dwell on it a little bit more than I should. So I don't even really like, I think I would probably be as upset or more upset, as you are. And yeah, that just really sucks. I think there's a lot of like, it really depends on it. The one question that I'm thinking is like, do they request feedback from you about other employees? Or like, are these just random people who go out of their way to say Fred made a mistake? Like, that's weird.
So they have like a core group of employees that work all year round, and then they have the seasonal staff, which I was like one of the seasonal staff that was like a returner. So again, I did 3 winters there. I did 1 summer. We even went on holiday to Bucharest. There is like something that I haven't told because it's a very hard thing to say, but there was this really weird time where I got the feeling that like some of the core members of staff didn't like me on a personal level. In fact, I was 100% sure of it, especially one of the dudes. I was just like, I have no idea why this guy doesn't like me. We got on really well before, but he seems to really like not like me on a personal level, and he's made it very obvious. And I gave them that feedback. I said, when we had the meeting, I was like, well, listen, I understand that you've given me feedback. This was before they employed me last winter. And I said, look, that's absolutely fine. Any feedback you've given me, I'll take on. If I can do better in any way, I will. But if I could offer you guys some feedback, it would be that, sometimes the core group of staff members can make other staff members feel very unwelcome. It's like a little bit cliquey, and if you're not like in the inner circle, you feel very much like an outsider. And it's not just me that feels that way. Like I know that like quite a lot of us feel that way, and they were like, oh, that's really nice that you've brought that up with us, because we want to know if that happens, like we corrected that. So at the beginning of last season, they all were like making a real big effort to like be a lot nicer to me. I was just like, oh, hello. Like so the guy who I thought never liked me was like, good morning, Fred. And I was like, oh, hello. Like, you don't normally say good morning to me. So that was a real noticeable difference. So again, I don't even know what I did to annoy them. I'm like, maybe just on a long enough timeline, I can be quite annoying. Maybe that's it. Like, but when I first started working there, I was like Mr. Popular. It was a really weird, we went on a holiday together to Bucharest, which was really nice. And then it was just like this weird, again, like when you, like it was a really uncomfortable dynamic. Like you suddenly felt like you were in the inner circle, and then you're on the outside, and it's kind of like schoolyard politics, kind of like it's this uneasy feeling of like, oh, these guys don't like me anymore. Like, what have I done? And I felt really awkward. So that, I think it has something to do with that. But again, I was very likable and polite last season. I don't know. Anyway,
I definitely think that current employees that have a lot of buy-in with management have a lot of sway in terms of like employee retention. And that's just kind of, I don't know if that's natural or whatever, but like if management likes this person, they've been around for a long time, naturally they're going to have sway. And if you get on the wrong side of people, that really sucks. All this to say that like there's obviously something that like happened or whatever, but not that any of it is useful to like try and assume or think or whatever, because that just like makes us pissed off or sad or whatever. But it's hard. You wish you knew, right, what happened. And if they were like, if they could give you specific examples, like here's some mistakes that you continually made that people pointed out, then it might be like, okay, I see like where you're coming from. But like just saying there was some mistakes that were pointed out, like without giving you actual context, then you're like, what mistakes? Like, what do you mean? So
exactly. Anyway, I want to move on from this because something else exciting has happened. So I've got some news. The last time I was on a live stream, I said that I couldn't work in the gaming industry because I wasn't an EU citizen because of Brexit. Anyway, I emailed them back and I just said, by the way, I do have a 10-year carte de séjour, like a residency permit that allows me to work and live in France. And they were like, oh, in that case, you can definitely come work for us. I was like, yes, excellent. So the croupier job is... sorry, I know it looks like there's being an earthquake happening. It's just my legs are really spazzy and I'm in my standing frame. So the whole thing's like on a... Anyway, so I emailed them back saying, I'm dead keen. I really want to try it. I was like, I don't know whether to mention I'm in a wheelchair. Like, I don't think it should matter, but I think out of courtesy, maybe I'll mention it. So I just said, oh, by the way, I'm in a wheelchair. It won't affect me doing the job, but I just thought out of courtesy, I would mention it. And they didn't mention it back when they emailed me back. They said, yeah, excellent. And it's really good news. So it's 2 hours away. In a big hotel, which is like in this old sort of castle. It's a grandiose building. It looks amazing. So I'm going to do croupier training. They're going to like pay for, all the training. So it's completely free. And I've booked the accommodation and me and Chris are going to go down there like as a little holiday. The accommodation's wheelchair accessible and dog friendly. So it's going to be really fun. It's a really good, exciting opportunity for me. And last time I spoke about it, I was under the impression that they speak English at the poker table. And I've just found out they actually speak French at the poker table, and
Oh,
all the
that's
training is in French. So this is going to be wildly outside of my comfort zone. But I found out recently that I had €1,000 worth of like training budget, like that the French government gave me, which is which can get me 15 hours of private one-on-one tuition with the French school down the road, which is really good. Because my French is all right, but it's really, not like go and listen to French all day and like completely comprehend everything. So I'm going to do like a speed French course. I'm going to go and do this training, and this is the absolute cherry on top, right? If the training's successful, I get to go and do a beginner croupier job. They actually give me a job contract for a poker tournament that's happening. They give me like food, accommodation, travel expenses, and I get to actually work as a croupier for a poker tournament. My first ever one, and that's like just a week after the training. So that is super cool. Like I think worst case scenario, I fail miserably, but best case scenario, I get a job as a croupier, which is awesome, which is really, really cool.
I think this is one of those situations where two things happened simultaneously that the universe was like showing you this isn't right for you. This is what you're not supposed to be doing. And here's another door to something that's more interesting. So maybe that's just the universe. Like it's closing one door so you don't have to be torn between two opportunities, and you can focus solely on this other one. And, being immersed all the time in French language is going to only make your French that much better, because everybody knows that immersion is the best like schooling or education. So I think it's going to be great for you.
Yeah. And that's why this comment prompted me, because if I could have a second chance at every conversation, I'd be the best communicator in the world. I didn't send that email yesterday, and now I've slept on it, and now I went for a nice swim, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to fire off that email while I'm angry. Like, I'm probably sure I could word it better. Even though there's like so many that I want to tell them, I want to be heard, I want my point of view, like, don't tell me I'm the weakest link, There's part of me that's like, I'm above it, man. Like, I think I'm destined for greater things. There's a massive silver lining to this. And even like when I first read the email, I remember like, because I was accidentally like in front of my mirror, and I looked up and looked in the mirror, and I was like, there's a silver lining to this. So I was almost there through the hindsight window already. However, I did have to like have like a really self-indulgent rant in my head and like write a strongly worded email, even though I didn't send it. Because I needed to get that off my chest. But ultimately, I think you're right, Brittney. I think this is pushing me so far out of my comfort zone, but it's pushing me towards the man I want to be. Like, I want to be a husband, I want to be a father, I want to speak fluent French in the country that I live in, right? You know what I mean? I live in like a little English community, but I want to be a croupier. I want to have a job that's not going to be taken over by AI in a few years, you know what I mean? I want to be financially independent, I want to be able to provide for Chris if we do have a child. And I feel like this is like, I know it sounds a bit woo-woo. I don't really like to use the word the universe, but like I feel like the universe is pushing me in the direction that is congruent with like personal growth and like the man I want to be. And I'm like, wow, that was like a kick in the dick, but in the right direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think sometimes we need those. I apologize if anybody hears the trucks driving by. I didn't really think about how noisy it might be out here. But yeah, they just got really noisy all of a sudden. I believe in the universe 100%. I believe that energy begets energy. And I think that when you put something out like energy wise, and I think you've more often than not put out a little bit of energy to the universe that maybe there's a toxic culture at your workplace, in your like previous workplace, that maybe it's not necessarily the thing that you want to be doing, that you do like it for the routine and all of that stuff, but it's not really fulfilling all of those, higher level, purposeful, like things that you would like to achieve. And this is just, like the universe being like, okay, I got your back. Like, this is where I'm going to push you. And it's going to be weird and uncomfortable for a little while, but like, this is ultimately where you're supposed to go. And anytime that I've ever achieved anything, it's always been because I've been pushed. I'm never the kind of person, and even though it might look like it on the internet, that just is like, I'm going to do that and I'm going to go and do it without anybody like pushing me to do it. Never. That's never happened. Starting my YouTube channel, I was pushed to do it by somebody. Like becoming independent as a wheelchair user, I was pushed to do it. Being independent as a mom, I was pushed to do it. being a teacher, like I was always like pushed to do it by somebody. And normally I'm like mad. And a lot of the time it's Joe. So I look at him like, you're an asshole. You're not supportive, whatever. And then afterwards I'm like, thank you so much for being an asshole and making me do the thing that I was terrified to do and making me feel
Yeah.
like giving me. And Joe sometimes is like an asshole about it, like where he's just like, are you like shit or get off the pot? Like, are you either doing this or not? Um, he's never
I've
like,
never I've never heard that one before. Shit or get off the pot. That's a great one.
that's a very Canadian saying, I think. I don't know, or maybe my parents just always used to say it, but people always say that here. So he would say that to me and be like, okay, you're not doing this or you are. Like, I'm sick of hearing about it. And I'm like that now with a few endeavors that I like keep talking about and just going around in circles. And I definitely am like being pushed in that direction again. But so yeah, I think it's just like sometimes you have to be pushed, and this is the universe pushing you. And losing the job is a great push.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I genuinely think this has happened for my higher good, and I think I'll look back on it and be like, oh, if I had have worked for that unnamed company, I would have not grown. I wouldn't have expanded my comfort zone, and I would have just been bored again. So yeah, I think it's all happened for a reason. I just felt like because the reason that they gave sucked so badly, I was like, oh, how dare you? But how dare you imply I was a bad employee? Anyway, I'm over that now. But anyway, moving forward, I got this great picture the other day. Look at how lovely that is. Oh, I'll take these. Oh, look at that.
Aww.
Cool, eh?
Whose child is that?
This is me manifesting.
Oh, did you do that with AI?
No. It's my friend's child. For those listening on audio, I just showed Brittney a picture of me with a 7-month-old baby on my lap. He was called Alfie. He belongs to JJ and Hannah. And I was like wheeling around. I went to this firework party at the weekend, and I was like wheeling around with him on my lap, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, because he's got like blue eyes, everyone was like, "Oh my god, is that yours? Is that yours?" And I was like, "Unfortunately, it's not mine, but like I want it to be mine." So yeah, I've made it as the background on my phone, so I can manifest it. I want this to be.
Yes.
Yeah, and this has got like kind of like the whole mindset I've been in recently. It's kind of lit a little fire under me, and I really want to try and keep this ball rolling. But I'm like, if I want to be a husband, a father, someone who's financially responsible, someone who can raise a family, it's not the Fred that watches YouTube all day. It's the Fred that can speak French, put himself outside his comfort zone, travel for work, work in casinos, do this sort of stuff that I'd be proud of. And then like also I could make content about things that I'm actually proud of. Like I said, I alluded to it recently. Like the reason I can't make content is because like, oh yeah, I just stayed and watched in YouTube all day on my phone. It's like there's nothing to write home about. You know what I mean? There's nothing to make content about. Whereas if I'm like, oh, I'm training to be a croupier, documenting that journey, documenting being a dad, documenting learning French, they're all like worthwhile things. They're the things that I would watch. You know what I mean? I like to say, don't make content that you wouldn't watch yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I would watch that. So. I think it's all very, very exciting, and life is moving in the right direction. But it's bumpy, and it's wild, and it's like an emotional roller coaster. But fuck, it's going in the right direction, and I'm stoked.
The bumpiness is always like, that's the fun part, right? Once you get past it, I was like telling Jacob this because he's 16 and a half, or like I guess he's 17 and 2.5 months. And he's got his first full-time job, working a lot of hours, like trying to fit all this stuff in. And he's just like, this is like what life is. And he was just like being a little bit overwhelmed or whatever. And I was just like, you don't live so that you can come home and watch TV, or you don't live for the moments where you're like, oh, I just want to take a break. I'm like, the memories that you make and the joy in life comes from all the hard shit that you do. Nothing that I've achieved as a person with a disability ever came from being super comfortable, because I was super comfortable when my mom was dressing me and all of those things. And it felt very horrible after a while. It was comfortable, but it felt horrible. And most people are living very comfortable lives that at the end of the day, they lay their head on the pillow and they go, this feels terrible, but I don't know how to do anything else. And it's too scary to do it. And I'm like, I refuse to live like that. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be afraid to travel by myself or figure out how I'm going to do stuff. I don't want to worry about falling out of my wheelchair in some weird place. If it happens, I'll figure it out. And the thing that has helped me the most is not ever planning or doing any of those things. It's me telling myself that no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. That allows me to get out of my comfort zone and allows me to be brave enough to figure shit out if something happens. And I've always figured shit out. There's never a time that I've ever gone anywhere or done anything and something bad has happened that I haven't figured it out, because I'm obviously alive to tell the tale. And the worst case scenario, you die and whatever happens, and then you're not around and whatever. So like,
Yeah.
best case scenario, you get the life of your dreams. Worst case scenario, you die, and then it doesn't
Right.
matter. So
That's what I was thinking the other day. I was swimming in the pool because I was like, I've got to go for a swim. The thing is with the swim, like I could talk to. I had a lovely chat with Benji. I was talking to ChatGPT about it as well. But I was like, sometimes I get in the pool and I'm like, I can't, like, I'm disconnected. You know, I don't wear my headphones in the pool. You know, like that's the time when I'm like swimming around for an hour and I'm getting exercise, but my brain is like just whirring. And as it whirred away, by the time I finished swimming, I was like, I'm not mad anymore, man. I'm just not mad. I don't know if I want to send that email because I feel like this is a gift. So why like throw shit back in the other direction? You know what I mean? I'm like, I should
yeah,
just be like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe I could make it even like a passive aggressive, you know, like, I think I'm better than you anyway. Like, so
yeah,
see you later. Or maybe not. Maybe I would just be the bigger person and just say, look,
yeah,
I think I'm destined for greater things anyway. I appreciate your time. You know, it was great working for you guys. See you later. You know.
yeah. I think one of the things that I'm learning as I get older is that nothing can ever hurt you unless there's already some insecurity there that is it's digging at. Do you know what I mean? Like when somebody calls me, I'm trying to think of something, like, I don't know. It used to bother me when, like, if people would think I was stupid. And now I'm like, you know what? That doesn't bother me at all, because I'm like, I am kind of dumb in some ways. I have like kind of airheaded kind of situations, but I'm very intelligent when I want to be. And when I sit down and I think about stuff, I love science. I love the way the human body works. So I'm like, I'm not a dumb person. Am I a flaky person sometimes? Absolutely. Am I, sometimes don't have any common sense or say stupid things? For sure. So I might come across that way. But if somebody tells me that, ultimately I know I'm not. So it doesn't bother me anymore. Like, you could call me stupid all day long and I'd be like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
But call me something else that I'm still struggling with. Then I'm like, it hurts, right? So yeah, I think that there's like things that like people say to us that if we have a little bit of a thing, and not that, like, this is just me guessing, but I know that you struggled in the last like couple years with your not your, like, your ability to be a man and provide and do all those things. And probably when they were like, you ultimately weren't good enough at your job, that probably hit a little bit home in the areas where you're like, oh, okay, so I'm already insecure about providing in the one job I had, you tell me I'm not good enough. So there's probably a little bit there too. I don't know, I'm just speculating, but there's always something that it bothers us for. And when we can see that like clear as day, like, this is bothering me for a reason and it has nothing to do with them, even though that triggered it, it for sure triggered it. It has more to do with me and the inner work that I need to do, and me lashing out at them is not going to do the inner work. It's just going
Yeah.
to make that situation worse and confirm to them the things that they already believe about why they're letting me go, kind of thing. So
Yeah. No, I completely understand. Um, yeah. So I think that said, let's move on
yeah,
to how you're doing, because that was a really great conversation, by the way. I really appreciate the feedback that you offered, the solidarity. It was really great. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. But like I say, I think I'm through the hindsight window. I'm pretty sure like things are all happening for me. But let's move on to you. You went to a music festival and it rained, and well, you tell the story.
okay, so this music festival is like a small-ish one. It's all Canadian bands, like really good ones though, and it's like close to my house, and it's about 5,000 people, maybe 6,000 people at the most. It's a wonderful, awesome venue. I didn't really know what to expect because I've been to outdoor venues before. I hated them. You have to bring your chairs. I obviously take mine on my butt, so I'm not worried about me bringing my chair and waiting in line and all that stuff, but everybody has to do it that I'm with. And we were camping there, and there's no power, water, or sewer in my camper. So we had
Ooh.
to just like have water in the trailer. We had to have a generator. Everybody has to have a generator there in order to run their trailer. And I have a lift on mine. And if the power isn't working, I can't get in the trailer. And so I was a little worried about all of those things. Um, and I had my scooter, but it was broken. Joe fixed it before we got there, and I'm so glad we did.
Nice.
But when I got there, I was like, the first thing I wanted to see was like, what's the accessibility like? So I take a tour on my little scooter, and I'm in the camping area. Not one wheelchair accessible porta potty in the entire camping area. So I'm like, of
Oh
course,
dear.
people in wheelchairs don't camp. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give them a little, I'll wait till I get in the concert venue. Get in the concert venue. There's probably like I want to say like 25 porta potties and one wheelchair accessible one. So I was super glad to see a wheelchair accessible one. So I was like, okay, we're going to see what it's like during the actual event, because a lot of people just use the accessible one and then I'm stuck waiting for that one. Um, but it ended up being really great. Nobody really used it apart from a few kids. Like there was mom
Yeah.
and a son in there one time, and some like 3 10-year-old girls. They were all in there together. But it was kind of dusk, so I'm like, her parents probably sent them off and said stay together. And so it was really great. I thought that was awesome. The accessible porta potty was kind of on a hill, so it was hard to get to. But I think that they tried. And the venue itself was really great because the concert was up high and it was on a very gradual slope downhill. So nowhere that I sat was a bad seat, and nobody was ever higher than me. And I could sit on the gradual slope without, being like, oh, I'm tilted forward. So I thought that was all good. It was just one of those situations where you have to go into it, where you're in the great outdoors, you're in a giant field, you're camping with no power, water, or sewer. You have a long distance to wheel. There's one very dirty porta potty. All the hand wash stations were foot pump ones, so I probably wore out the statement, "Can I borrow your foot?" By the end of the weekend, because I was like, I couldn't wash my hands unless some able-bodied person was sitting there pumping the water for me. So I would
Good
always
one.
just come up to somebody and be like, "Can I borrow your foot?" One guy, it was his birthday. I sang happy birthday to him. Another guy goes, "Don't tell my wife that you asked me to pump it." And I was like, "Promise, it's our little secret." So like I got to have super fun conversations like that with a ton of people. My scooter
Yeah.
garnered so much attention. Like I was just whipping around the whole place and
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." I got like a million high fives. And then there was
Yeah.
maybe 4 other people in wheelchairs. And they were all like, "Where did you get that thing?" So I got to talk about accessibility with all the people in wheelchairs, and I met every single disabled person that was in the venue. So I was like, even though it was a probably subpar like wheelchair accessible experience, I had muddy hands the entire weekend. My tires were all dirty, and every time I went pee, I was like hand sanitizer wipes, so that I didn't get a bladder infection and all of that stuff. I think I went into it already with like an attitude of like, this is going to be great. It's so fun. And it ended up being really great. And my friend, who's also in a wheelchair, she had a VIP tent because they always buy like a corporate tent. So I got to go visit in like the bougie tent area that had like private access, private bar, all these things. And then she said they're really open to like feedback. So I'm like, I'm going to try and get on the planning committee for next year, because I'm like, this was a really awesome festival. And I think they tried really hard to make it as accessible as possible. So yeah, I had a great time. But the day that it rained was really hard not to be negative, because it was so
Ah.
fucking muddy. Like it was so muddy, unbelievably muddy. I couldn't wheel anywhere without getting super wet. Like not wet, but like dirty. And so I was like trying, it was hard on the rainy day. But that ended up being my favorite band. If anybody's Canadian in this thread, tell me if you know these bands. So Captain Tractor was my favorite one. They sing The Last Saskatchewan Pirate. So if you know that song, Jim, if you don't know The Last Saskatchewan Pirate, you're not Canadian. I know you're Canadian. I don't know who else is Canadian here, but that was a great band. Crash Test Dummies played. And if you've seen Dumb and Dumber, they are on the soundtrack of that. And everybody that's at least North American should have seen Dumb and Dumber. What else? Big Wreck played. The Kings. There was like a bunch of great bands. So I was like, it was super fun that way. Yeah. And I had a few times where people like tried to push me and I said no. And one guy's like, whatever. And I was like, it's okay. I'm not trying to. And he's like, it's okay. You got to be independent, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I hurt your ego. I hurt your ego. You wanted to help so
Yeah.
badly. And then he ended up being such a nice guy. He was sitting in front of me and he turned around. He's wearing a cowboy hat and he's like, can you see? And I was like, not really. And then he slouched down for like a bunch of like concerts. And I'm like, don't slouch down. Your back is going to hurt. And then I like moved my seat and I like tapped him. I'm like, you don't have to slouch down anymore. I moved. So he ended up being really nice, but he wanted to help me so bad. Like he's just like, he got up like running towards me. He's like, can I help you through this mud? And I'm like, no, it's okay. And then he was like, whatever. So yeah. Anyway, it was good. I feel like people always make up for the lack of accessibility.
Oh, that's lovely. Hey, listen, I've got a couple of questions I wrote down while you were chatting.
Yeah.
Number one, well, number one's an easy question, and then the second one's like a little bit deeper. But were you in your regular chair? Did you bring a spare chair, or were you in your Oh, that's
Regular
terrible.
chair.
Yeah,
I was in my
that
regular
sucks.
chair. Luckily enough, I was at the so it was not luckily enough. I was at the farthest possible camping spot. So I had probably a kilometer, maybe a little more to wheel between the concert venue and like the actual campground or camp spot.
On the grass.
On the grass, it was like gravel, grass,
Oh,
dirt.
right.
And luckily enough, before I got to my camp spot, it was a big open field, so there was tons of wet grass. So whenever it did get muddy, I wheeled through all the mud, all the gravel, all the everything, and then I went through wet grass, and my tires got mostly clean by the time I got there, apart from like the sides or whatever. But the only thing that kind of sucked is like in my scooter, if you're on a scooter or a bike attachment or anything like that, the weight is on the back where your ass is.
Yeah.
So the front doesn't have a lot of traction unless you have momentum. And in there was a couple really big hills, and I needed momentum in order to get up the other side. But some of the time there was like just people walking willy-nilly and, would always be in the way, and I would like honk. And if they were like paying attention, I would honk and I would be like, get out of the way, get out of the way. And then they would like look back and like, oh shit, I gotta get out of the way. And like it was always fun when there was like young kids in front of me, like that were like 19, 20, because I would like honk and then I would be like, get out of the way, and then they would be like totally good about it. They're like, oh my god, it's the future of accessibility driving up behind me, like she's just zooming. So they were like awesome that way, but a lot of the time it was like older people because it's like an older crowd. I mean, it was bands from like the 90s in Canada, so there's like a few of us that were a little older, and they were walking less agilely than I would expect if they needed to get out of the way fast. But anyway, it was good.
So my second question was going to be, in hindsight, because of like, I know how much you wee, like you wee way more than me, and because you drink a lot as well. That's probably why you wee a lot. But would you have considered an indwelling catheter? Because like, especially with all the mud, you could have just like, let it out and you just had the indwelling for the weekend or something.
Not really. I'm so uncomfortable when I have an indwelling catheter in terms of like moving around, whether I'm going to rip it out, worrying where it is, looking where like the leg bag is and stuff. I just don't like it. I would much prefer just going to the bathroom when I have to. I probably went every like 2.5, 3 hours there instead of like every hour and a half, which I might do here. Yeah, it ended up being okay. The porta potty was on a little bit of a hill, which was kind of annoying because I had to open the door while trying to wheel up this little hill. But most people were really good and held the door for me. And then when I was in the porta potty, it was on a slant, so like my wheelchair would kind of tip backwards when I was trying to do my business, which was kind of weird. So next year, I said like to my friend who was also there, I was like, we should have like collected all of the information of the people who were, disabled there, and then came at it like a group effort, like here's some feedback or whatever for next year. But my friend has been in the VIP section for like however many years this has been going on. I think like 6 years or something like that. And they've been very receptive to all of the feedback she's given them. So I'm gonna just email and say how great the venue was and how much I liked it and how I would like to help them improve it for next year for people with disabilities so that I can spread the word and get more people there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do anyway, because it was a great venue. I think the camping in that way is a little sucky, but it was fine. Like we had water in the trailer, so I could use the bathroom in there and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. I feel like when I go places, like when I go camping, I often take my other wheelchair. So if it gets a little bit muddy or a little bit dirty, it's not like my good chair. You know what I mean? I can imagine if I was out and my good wheelchair was getting filthy dirty, I would be so annoyed. I guess there's a point where you just got to accept it, right? But like that, I know it's like a bit of a luxury, but honestly, I am so grateful that I have spare wheelchairs that get dirty and stay outside. That is, yeah.
I've never had that, so I'm always just used to cleaning my tires and stuff. And my spare wheelchairs are in my basement. So I just saw the Bradley Cooper thing. I was like, I've never thought about that before, but as soon as he said it, I was like, you do look like Bradley Cooper.
That is a really great beautiful. He's a good-looking man. That is a great compliment. Thank you very much, Chris. For those listening on Spotify, Chris commented, "Sure, you get this a lot, Fred, but everyone here thinks you look like Bradley Cooper." I don't think anyone thinks I look like Bradley Cooper, but that's. I'll take it. I will take it. He is a handsome dude. So thank you very much.
That is funny. Somebody's asking, did I fit in the accessible porta potty? I don't fit with a power chair. I totally said that at the venue. I was like, anybody with a power chair would have hated the event because there's no way they're fitting in. There was a guy with a really big scooter, like just one that you sit on and you drive, like a senior scooter kind of thing. But it was like really, really big and hefty. And I was like talking to his wife at one point during the thing, and I was like, how did he even pee? And she's like, oh, he can get up and walk a little bit. So he went into the porta potty. But those accessible porta potties are not accessible unless you're in a manual wheelchair. They don't have a 5-foot turning radius. You could barely get in there with a power chair. So I'm not really sure what the solution is for somebody with a power chair in a situation like that, because I've never seen a porta potty that would accommodate a power chair. So yeah, that really sucks.
Yeah. No, I get that. So that all sounds good. I don't know if there was anything else we were going to talk about. That sounds like it's it. Does anyone in the comment section have any questions for us? I was just I was a little distracted. I was looking at Bradley Cooper in another tab. I was like,
I'm trying to see if there's any questions or anything. I feel like my computer is going to overheat pretty soon, so it's a good thing we're going to end soon. I'll
tell you what, I don't have a magic trick today, but I can tell you guys about 2 magic tricks I did this week. One was really good, and one was not that good. So if you guys remember, well, some of you guys in the comment section will remember this. Chris, Ryan, Jim, Brittney. I did a magic trick on the live stream. We had a live stream hangout for the Patreons. It was the day after the podcast. So it was last Tuesday, literally a week ago. Around about literally exactly a week ago right now. I was doing a magic trick for these guys. And they were like, yeah, that doesn't look very magic. That's where I was kind of making a...
It was just me.
I was making a dollar bill levitate. And Brittney was like, it's still touching your thumb. I'm like, yeah, but you do it then. It's like, it seemed really magical. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not. And it was so badly received. I was like, oh god, ouch. I was like, normally you're like the perfect crowd for magic as well. And that just landed so badly.
It was totally just me, and then maybe I brought down the others into my bandwagon of that's not very magical. But yeah, I don't know why. Just because has anybody ever seen the movie The Craft? And they're levitating something, and they have their fingers all on these their friend, and their friend lifts off all their fingers. So that's the only thing I've ever seen of levitating. So I'm like, it's got to leave all the fingers. It's got to float entirely. That's why I thought that's what you're trying to do, and I was missing it. And I was like, am I missing something because it's on camera and I can't actually see the angle? So yeah, I apologize for my shitty reaction.
No, it's all good. I actually. It's valuable feedback. It's very valuable feedback. So I want to tell you about another magic trick. So I also told you guys on the live stream, or maybe I think I told you guys on the live stream. I didn't mention it on the podcast with Brian, but I had a magic gig that I thought went terribly. And there's so much to be learnt from a terrible gig. And by no means it was terrible. If you asked the ladies, everyone got a really magic moment. We all shared moments that seemed completely unexplainable. But I had very nervous energy. It was awful. I just did not present myself very well. And I know, for example, because I'm quite a bit of a perfectionist, I know that I could do way better. But because of that nervous energy, I've been doing lots of research and sort of trying to do my tricks a little bit better. I did this trick the other day, and the girl I did it with still is I have no idea how you did that, Fred. So I don't have a magic trick for you today, and I know explaining a magic trick that I did isn't really the same, but I really want to tell you guys about it. So she's been going through a bit of a tough time lately, and I said to her, oh, listen, I think the problem is not trusting your intuition. You seem like a person that can make good decisions, but sometimes you just don't trust yourself. I was like, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to think of a card, and I want you to try and pick up on it, okay? So I took her through like a little script, and she named the card, and I said, okay, and it was the 6 of spades, and I said, okay, well now find your card in the pack, and she's holding the pack, right? She looks through the pack, it's not there. I was like, are you sure? Like, check again. She looks through, she's like, it's definitely not there. So I was like, okay, interesting. So the 6 of spades was the card I was thinking of, and you've picked up on it. And this wasn't a lucky guess. This was you using your intuition. I pulled out another deck of cards. I spread out, and I was like, look. And the only card upside down in the deck was the 6 of spades. And I said I took the 6 of spades out of that deck and put it in this deck before we started. Boom! And she was like, no way, that was amazing. And it was really beautifully executed. It was one of the best magic tricks I've done. And what I really liked about it was, instead of like the magician being like, ta-da, I framed it in like I was sort of reverse engineered it so it looked like she'd picked up on it. And because she was going through a little bit of a tough time, I said, look, that wasn't a lucky guess. You just really like tuned into your intuition, and that's how you picked up on the card I was thinking of. And she was like, oh, no way. And I was like, look, next time you come up with a difficult decision, because she's been going through a little bit of a hard time lately, I said, just trust your intuition, and go with it, because, this is a good example of what happens. And she was like, oh, that's so sweet, that's really lovely. And I sent her on her way, and it was such a great reframe of like showing off as the magician, or like making the magic happen, in a different way, like making it seem like that was, it was fucking awesome, Britt, if I'm honest. She loved it. It was very, very cool.
I love when you can pair, not like philosophical, but like emotional connection with like a trick that allows somebody to maybe open up their mind a little bit about the possibilities in the world. And that's kind of what you did in that trick. That's why I love those ones that they're like the mentalism ones, where it's like we're connected, and even if it's not real, I don't know how you do it, but it feels like we're connected, and that reinforces for me what I believe about the universe and the connection between energy and all of that stuff, and that you can really influence somebody's mood and somebody's actions and somebody's life by being who you are, because that translates over energy, right, towards somebody else. And so I love tricks like that. Yeah, I think it's amazing when you can connect those two. It's just an emotional, I don't know, like it's more of an emotional trick than it is like a ooh wow magic trick.
Yeah, I picked it up off of a really good mentalist. He was on a podcast recently, and he just dropped this like nugget of wisdom, which like rocked my world. And I was like, oh my god, because essentially the trick can be done 2 ways. Like, I'm not going to give away the method, obviously, but it's incredibly simple, like most magic. But I could be like, hey, think of a card. Okay. And find it in the deck. Okay. And then I'll reveal the card that you're just merely thinking of, right? And I'll be like, ta-da, and that's like me. It's like, oh, well done, magician. Like, but like to totally reframe the exact same trick to like make the spectator feel like they're doing the magic. I feel like that was so special. It was such a really lovely moment for her, because she was like, oh, you know what? She went away like, I'm going to trust my intuition a bit more, which is a beautiful, maybe it's a bit pseudo woo-woo, but like it's a message that she might have needed to hear at the time. And she messaged me the other day, and she was like, mate, I still can't believe how you got the 6 of spades in the other pack. And I was like, trust me, it wasn't me, it was you. Like, it wasn't a lucky guess. You trusted your intuition. So next time, think about that. And she was like, oh, okay.
That's awesome.
So it was really, yeah.
She's still thinking about it days later. There's a couple really good comments here. You're hotter than Bradley Cooper. Woo. And this one, yo, Fred, where in Switzerland do you live? He actually lives in France, in the French Alps.
Yeah.
How do you clean your wheels when you get home? Wipes, paper towel, all the good old fashioned things. Sometimes water. If I'm in my garage and it's like really muddy, I'll take my water bottle, and there's like a little spout here and a button here. I will wheel backwards and like let a little stream of water drip onto my tires to clean them off. I'm not sure what this one is talking about, but y'all are both Brit, Fred A, Brit, and Brit, just Brit. I don't really know what that means. But
I like this. You do look like Bradley Cooper, but you are a bit more handsome.
You are going to be like, Chris is going to get home and you're going to be like, you are with a handsome stud.
Unbelievable.
There's some shout outs that people wanted to give to other creators.
Yeah.
I'll give a shout out to Chris for the YouTube channel Hold My Wheels, who this week got 500 subscribers and is doing some great content. I'm going to go check it out. And if he's like, not everybody's worthy, but maybe we can have him on the show if he's a cool guy.
100%. I said that I would do that.
Um,
Also, yeah, so everyone watching, there's 35 people watching. Go over to Hold My Wheels
yeah,
YouTube channel and subscribe to him. He's a good up and coming wheelchair content creator. Got some good stuff. Let's get him to, like, even if you don't watch his stuff, as long as he gets to 1,000 subscribers, he
yeah,
can start monetizing his channel. So it's really
yeah,
nice. Costs you nothing. Go subscribe to his channel, please.
totally. I was just gonna say something and then I totally forgot. I had something in my head and then I forgot. Sorry.
Was it to do with
Um,
Bradley Cooper?
no. Oh, there's a question here. I'm not sure if this is the scope for this live event, but my questions are either to either of you are: do you do therapy to recover any function, and has your injury been classified on the Asia scale? I'm Asia A, which is like complete injury. And I don't know what Fred is, but I don't do any therapies. Never did. There wasn't really anything around when I was younger. And I have had this conversation many, many times with people that if there was something that came out that allowed me the ability to walk, if I know that I'm not going to be walking proficiently, so I would never spend the time and energy to be in therapy that allows me to stand up or walk for very little benefit. You know, if I could clean my cupboards or something, yay, but I probably wouldn't spend the time at this point in my journey. I just have other more important things to do than spend a bunch of time in a rehab center trying to walk.
Yep. I would like to show you guys right now. I'm kind of doing therapy right now. Look at this. Woo. I'm actually in my standing frame. So I'm
Yeah.
standing. Oh, let me remove this comment real quick. So yeah, as you guys can see, I'm in my standing frame today, and I've been standing for an hour, over an hour, which is nice. And that's also why my screen has been so shaky, because like when my legs spasm, it like. But yeah, so I'm kind of doing therapy right now. Like my standing frame is so important. I genuinely, if you can use one easily enough, I would highly recommend it. Like for me, I can just get in like quite easily, like woo, and
Yeah.
up, just pull myself up. But yeah, that I just wanted to add that. Yeah, in case you didn't know that I was in my standing frame today. That's yeah, it's really nice. It's good to stand.
I also think that there's like therapy has many like there's many definitions of therapy, and there's like the whole rehabilitation therapy that allows you to walk again. But in terms of like my therapy, it's being as strong as I can in my wheelchair, doing shoulder hygiene exercises and wrist and forearm hygiene exercises so that I can keep my strength for as long as possible and not damage my tendons. It's getting out in the sunshine so that I get enough vitamin D, and eating healthy food so that I prevent all these secondary health complications, drinking enough water to prevent UTIs, just lots of things like that. I consider therapy for living a good life in a wheelchair. And a lot of people just don't know what to do and think that their doctors are going to tell them what to do. And most of the time that's absolutely false. They will treat you with a UTI when you get it, but they're not going to tell you how to be healthy and happy and live an awesome life. That's what we're here for. So I'm glad that you're joining us and asking these questions because they're important, I think. So yeah.
Bro is looking rather tall. Didn't notice that before. Great comment. And wow, very cool, Fred. How tall are you when you're standing in it? That's a really good question. I don't actually know. Before my accident, I was like 5'8". And now I think I'm like 5'9". It's really weird because the scaffolding that they put on my spine has like stretched it out a little bit, so I think I'm actually an inch taller. But the most important thing is, Ryan, is when my girlfriend's here. Oh shit, spasm. When my girlfriend's here, she's way shorter than me. She's like a little munchkin. So that's really nice. But yeah, so I'm a lot taller than her. But yeah, it feels good standing up, so it's nice.
This comment here, lots of us here today. I actually noticed that we have probably about 15 or 16 more people than we normally have. So I'm like, should we change to Tuesdays? Because this seems like a time that more people can make it. So I'm not sure. We originally had it on Tuesdays and then we changed it to Mondays.
Oh yeah, so we did.
But, yeah, so maybe there's some like evidence to change it. Can anybody see my unfortunate head vein? It's like I'm so hot and it like pops up right here. I was talking to a lady at the music festival, and she's like a beautiful redhead, clear skin, glowing looking individual. And it was like 30 degrees both days, 30 degrees Celsius both days of the music festival, the first 2 days, and then it rained the third day. But it was blistering hot. I was so sweaty. Thank God I can sweat. That is like something I'm so thankful for. but I like get red faced. I have this unfortunate vein that pops up if I'm hot. And I was sitting next to her and I was like talking to her husband. I was like, this is what you married? Somebody that looks so beautiful in the heat. And my husband married somebody that basically looks like a drowned rat. That's like, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, my unfortunate head vein.
I've also got a little friend today.
That's really funny. Yeah, see my head vein.
Yeah.
You can like see it in the light. It like pops up. But anytime I'm exerting myself. So you definitely know what Joe gets to see when we're having fun. My unfortunate head vein. I look like I'm a wrestler or something. Terrible.
So we've had two votes for Tuesday. So if Tuesdays are better, I'm happy. I like it when more people are watching, if I'm honest.
Me too.
Also, Sunday, I watched a live stream with my two of my favorite magicians. Basically, my YouTube feed is just magic now. But when I listen to podcasts, I listen to them sped up. So when I listen to like live streams, it's like it feels like everyone's talking very slowly. But I listened to a live stream the other day for 2 hours, and I was like, because sometimes I think, why are people like watching us? But it can be quite engaging. Like I feel it's lucky that we have an audience, and they do watch us live. But I have thought like, oh my god, don't these people have anything better to do? But no offense, guys. But like I was watching a live stream and I was so engaged in it, and I was commenting, and they were like reading my comments, and I was like, oh man, like I can see now why people like a good old live stream, and it's really nice to share it with you as well.
I love a good live stream. Like I watched this podcast that's live streams on Podbean. If you guys don't know what Podbean is, there's lots of live broadcasts of podcasts, but they don't have like video like this. So go check that out. But anyway, it's a real estate one, and they do it every single morning from where I live, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, at 6 a.m. And so every once in a while, if I'm up early enough, I will catch the live, and then you get to get in on their like funny conversations because it's a husband and wife, and I love being able to like chat in between or like actually to the hosts and stuff. So it's kind of fun. And that's my favorite part about this. I love chatting to people. Yeah, okay, I'll see. Tuesdays are better. Oh, James, you can change your shit to Tuesday. He's saying Mondays are better.
James will make it. He'll make it. He's always there. He's he's the first one. So yeah. All right, cool. Well, maybe we'll change it to Tuesday. Like we can have a little chat about it offline. But like it works fine for me, and I definitely prefer like more engagement on it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Even Ryan says better for me on Tuesdays. So yeah, there you go. All right, cool. See you next Tuesday.
See you guys next Tuesday.
Do you know what? There's this is a little rude, but I'll say it. But like when there's a saying, it's British. I don't think you'd have get it, but like see you next Tuesday is actually a it's a under the radar insult because it's see you next Tuesday.
Oh, I see what that spells right away.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not a nice compliment.
Yeah, so sometimes it's a British thing, but someone will be like, yes, see you next Tuesday. But we mean it in the genuine, just see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. No, not calling anybody that here today.
That's not such a bad word in Australia and not so much a bad word in Britain. But in North America, that word gets you in trouble. Yeah,
it gets you in trouble for sure. Yep. Yeah, I think that's still one of the really bad words here. That if you just like threw that out in public, people would be like, "Whoa, like where are you? Like, where are you coming from?" Kind of thing. So.
Yeah, my parents hate it. Anyway, on that note, see you next Tuesday. Hey,
bye guys.